Good evening. Thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shereen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking tonight.
It's important to make sure you're balancing, and putting in safeguards for people. You're creating an innovative framework so that companies can innovate.
Google CEO Sundar Pichai bats for balanced tech regulation in India, says safeguards with regulatory certainty is important to help companies innovate, adds that India will become a big export economy and benefit from an open and connected internet. IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav says he expects the new data and telecom bills to be passed by the monsoon session next year. 57% of 17.5 million respondents called for Elon Musk to step down as CEO in an informal poll posted by Musk himself. The poll came back on the back of Musk receiving online backlash for sudden policy changes at the social networking company. 32 million viewers tuned in to Jio Cinema to watch the final as Messi's Argentina beat France, ending the country's 36-year wait for a World Cup. Digital viewership overtakes TV for the first time. The tournament becomes the most watched global sporting event on digital that did not have India participating. October telecom data spells more trouble for Vodafone Idea. The operator loses over 35 lakh subscribers, the spell continuing for the 19th month. Jio sees a subscriber addition for the 7th month in a row, adding over 14 lakh subscribers. The union government clears its stance on online gaming, even as the GST group of ministers submit divergent views, says cannot make any distinction between gambling and lottery activities. The GST Council clarifies that 4 parameters are needed to fulfill to classify a vehicle as an SUV with a cess of 22% over and above the 28% GST rate. The government weighs its options on the free food grain scheme, which has been extended multiple times since it was first rolled out during the COVID lockdown in March 2020. Sources say the government is well placed with regards to grain stock for the scheme to be extended. However, a call on the extension will be taken at the highest political level. 2 pilot unions of Air India write to Tata Sons chief N. Chandrasekharan and ask him to intervene in the alleged victimization of pilots and other unethical practices at the airline. Reiterate complaints about manpower shortage, denial of leave, salary cuts and excess working hours. The Finance Ministry tells Parliament that currently all policies on crypto assets and related ecosystems are being studied, but adds that any legislation on the subject can be effective only with significant international collaboration. Well, before we get to all of that, here's a quick snapshot of the day's market action. Dalal Street broke a 2-day losing streak with the Nifty and the Sensex gaining nearly 1% each. Reliance HDFC and ITC leading the gains, offsetting the drag from the IT stocks. The broader markets also ended comfortably in the green. The day's gains mean that Friday's losses have largely been recouped. The buoyancy in the stock market also being reflected in the currency market. The rupee staged a recovery as the dollar slipped against its major rivals. This is in line with the recovery that we saw in other Asian currencies, which was supported by the hopes of a demand recovery in China. The rupee ending the day at 82.70 to the dollar. Now, one of the reasons for the rupee's rebound today was the fall in global crude oil prices over the weekend. However, the commodity has regained some of its lost ground through the global trading day. Again, hopes of a rise in economic activity and oil demand from China being seen as the driving force. The big story tonight, a greater impetus on artificial intelligence, a call for balanced tech regulation, and the big hope from an open and connected internet. The annual Google for India event gave not just a broad sense of the tech giant's plans for India, but also underscored its policy expectations from the government. While CEO Sundar Pichai said the technology needed balanced regulation as it touches many lives, Google India's Vice President Sanjay Gupta claimed that Google would work on a stronger IT backbone as it readies to welcome 1 billion Indians online by 2025, and this includes integrating Android with the government's DigiLocker, stronger security on its Google Pay app. Google India's digitization fund will play a larger role in this, with a significant portion of the fund being directed towards supporting ventures led by women. Top executive Elizabeth Reed focused on how Google intends to make its search engine more intuitive using artificial intelligence. My colleague Ashpit Kumar gets us all the action.
Google for India 2022. Now, one normally associates big numbers, big announcements with this event. But while we saw neither, what we did see was a very distinct push being given by Google to make Google search more intuitive. Now, what does that mean? Now, imagine clicking a picture of a butterfly and then seeking answers from Google search as to which breed that butterfly is. Or talking in English and then seeking answers by saying, "Mujhe Connaught Place jana hai." Or even asking questions like, "Cheese kis cheese se banti hai?"
If you take our efforts on Hinglish, this is how you talk. You shouldn't have to change what you're asking for to some special way in order to communicate. That ability to just express your information need the way you would like to naturally, I think will make it much easier for people to do that.
We're also present at Google for India 2022 was the Minister of IT, Telecom and Railways, that's Ashwini Vaishnav. He acknowledged that AI will play a critical part as a part of the tech journey, the digital journey for India going forward, and said that the three bills under consideration, that's the Telecom Bill, the Data Protection Bill and the Digital India Bill, will lay the legal framework for this journey going forward.
We are creating three horizontals. First is the Telecom Bill, which is for the carrier. Second is the Digital Protection Bill, which is focused around enforcing citizens' privacy rights. And third is the Digital India Bill, which is going to look at practically everything else which is required to be seen. The two bills which have been put up for consultation should be completed by July, August. It should pass the parliament.
Well, the big highlight, of course, was the Google CEO, Sundar Pichai, speaking to the Google universe. And in doing so, while he welcomed more regulation for the tech space, what he did, however, define are four guardrails. Number one, he said that regulation should be balanced, should be certain, should be responsible, and importantly, should promote innovation.
I think India has a leadership role to play here. Again, given the scale and the technology leadership it will have. And it's important to make sure you're balancing, and putting in safeguards for people. You're creating innovative framework so that companies can innovate, on top of a certainty in the legal framework. So I think it's an important moment in time.
Well, this was the 8th edition of Google for India, and importantly, it's coming at a time when the government is seeking to tighten the regulatory screws on competition, on data security, on grievance redressal, and even AI. So while Google may have shared its concerns, the government, however, may have different priorities. In New Delhi, Ashmit Kumar.
Well, that is Ashmit Kumar reporting from the Google for India event. Now, 57% of 17.5 million respondents have called for Elon Musk to step down as CEO. This after an informal poll posted by Musk himself. The poll came on the back of Musk receiving online backlash for sudden policy changes at the social networking company. Sanjay Suri gets us more. Sanjay.
This could turn out to be the biggest corporate harakiri of all time if indeed Musk were to fully and finally step away from all management control of Twitter. He had invited a poll on Twitter asking if he should step down as head, and he promised to abide by the results. And the results are here, a very substantial number, and the majority by very clear margin have voted for him to step down. Musk could hardly have expected this result. This was intended more likely as a move to establish himself not just as the owner and chief executive, but the manager by global vote, the first such manager. And the plan B would be for him to then step back as manager and get someone else in to stop the advertisers leaving in the hordes in which they have been leaving Twitter under his charge. Not many, though, see Musk slipping quietly into the oblivion. For a start, he would manage any new manager. He also says that no one else wants a job. There is no successor. It's very hard to put consistency to anything Musk says. And of course, he could point to the fact that of 122 million users who could have voted, a small fraction voted, and then a smaller fraction then voted him out or wanted him out. It does not seem likely that Musk could simply look on as spectator or just continue as a Twitter user. And then, let's say, if a new manager were to propose rehiring the staff that Musk fired, and that's more than half of the staff, that Musk would simply say, okay. Or if someone else were to put in a political agenda that he doesn't want, he would accept that. He clearly has his own political ambitions and expressions that he has been using Twitter for. But clearly, this is a big blow to this self-image of Musk as some sort of a messiah out to lead the world into a brave new future, well, on Earth and then beyond Earth into other worlds through SpaceX. The fact is that he has been a very compromised messiah. He banned the accounts of some independent journalists, then reinstated them. He brought in certification, paid certification in unclear ways, abandoned it, reinstated it. Not a very steady hand on the till at all. The best bet clearly would be for Musk to step back, if not step down.
Yes, Sanjay, the saga continues, and at this point in time, we haven't heard from Musk just yet, though he had said in his poll that if the majority voted for him to step down, he would. Let's see what happens from here on. Now, Lionel Messi led Argentina to beat France, emerging as the champions of the World Football Cup last night, and as the legendary footballer marshalled his men to their first World Cup championship win in 36 years. 32 million viewers tuned into Jio Cinema to watch the most dramatic World Cup final to date. The tournament's digital viewership overtook TV for the first time in India. The Qatar Football World Cup has also become the most watched global sporting event on digital that did not have India participating. Mangalam joins us now with the number crunching. Malu, not just a historic final, but historic viewership numbers as well.
Well, while we're all talking about how thrilling the match was, the exciting match, etc., and perhaps the greatest football match of FIFA final that we've seen, well, it also means that it was also the most watched football match in India. In fact, the big headline from FIFA finals this time around was that digital viewership has overtaken TV viewership for the first time. 32 million people tuned into Jio Cinema for the final day of FIFA World Cup, and that's just the final day. In fact, over the entire World Cup duration, there were 110 million viewers. So 11 crore people actually went ahead and consumed the football on digital content. Cumulative reach for the first 58 matches on television was around 47 million. So assuming that they even doubled that number in the second half, digital was far ahead of television itself. India, as a result of this, has actually become one of the highest digital viewership markets for FIFA, an event where it does not even participate. So that's a record of sorts. And as far as business is concerned, advertisers, there were over 50 brands across e-commerce, banking, financial services, auto, fashion, hospitality, fintech, all of them coming in to advertise on these platforms itself. And why just India? Globally as well. We had tweets from global tech leaders. Sundar Pichai tweeted that search, that's Google search, recorded its highest ever traffic in 25 years on the final of FIFA World Cup. He said that it was like the entire world was talking about just one thing. And Elon Musk as well said that 24,400 tweets per second was the frequency at which people were tweeting when France hit that goal itself. So world over, people were talking about it on digital, and India, 3.2 crore viewers on Jio Cinema apps.
Mangalam, many thanks. Now, the telecom subscriber data for October spells more trouble for cash-strapped Vodafone Idea. The operator has lost over 35 lakh subscribers in October and over 1.5 crore over the last 7 months. Reliance Jio has added over 14 lakh subscribers. Let's go across to Rima now. She joins us with the details. Rima.
Thanks so much for that. So the first takeaway is Reliance Jio has added the most number of subscribers for the 7th consecutive month. In the month of October, Jio added more than 14 lakh subscribers, while Bharti Airtel has added 8 lakh subscribers. In FY23 so far, that's in the first 7 months, where Reliance Jio has beaten peers in terms of subscriber addition, Jio has added nearly 1.7 crore subscribers, while Airtel subscriber addition stands at sub 50 lakhs. So Jio has added more than 1 crore subscribers in the first 7 months compared to Bharti Airtel. Vodafone Idea, on the flip side, continues to lose subscribers. In the month of October, they've lost close to 35 lakh subscribers. In FY23 so far, they've lost 1.5 crore subscribers, and their market share continues to slide lower, currently stands at 21.5%. If you look at the October market share, it's Reliance Jio which tops the subscriber market share at nearly 37%, followed by Bharti Airtel at 32%, and then you've got Vodafone Idea at 21.5%. Now, analysts say the outlook for Vodafone Idea continues to be trajectory a bit uncertain because they continue to lose subscribers. The market share continues to slide. The government equity conversion has been pending since January of this year. The debt is high at 2.2 lakh crore as of 30th September 2022. The interest burden is more than 90% of the company's market capitalization. While peers are racing ahead in their 5G plans, Vodafone Idea has yet to announce their 5G plans. And if you just look at the P&L, in the last 4 quarters, in the last 12 months, their losses are in excess of 28,000 crore rupees.
Rima, many thanks for joining us. Yes, the trying times continue there for Vodafone Idea. No clarity yet on the government conversion. Even as the GST group of ministers submitted divergent views on taxation on online gaming, we learned from sources that the government's view is clear. There can be no distinction between gambling and lottery activities. The CBIC chief Vivek Johri is of the view that the GST of 28% will have to be paid on full winning value and not on margins, but the rate will be 28%. This is the government's view. Remember, the GST Council has continued to hold inconclusive meetings on the matter. Meanwhile, the GST Council has spelled out a clear definition of SUVs that would attract the highest cess of 22%. The clear definition for SUVs state that it must be called an SUV if its length is 4,000 mm, it must have an engine capacity of 1,500 cc or above, and a ground clearance of 170 mm and above. However, the Council has also sought clarification on the taxation of MUVs or multi-utility vehicles. The Council has suggested that MUVs be included under the same rate of 22% compensation cess. The Finance Minister said that the Fitment Committee will assess the request and come back to the Council with the appropriate recommendation. Promoters of Sterling and Wilson are looking to sell up to 5.2% stake in the company via an offer for sale. The floor price for the sale has been fixed at 270 rupees a share. Yash is here with the details. Yash, who are the promoters and how much are they going to sell?
Well, that's correct, Shereen. It's a sizable chunk which the promoters of Sterling and Wilson Renewable would be looking to sell through offer for sale or OFS mechanism. So the total quantum which these promoters are looking to sell is up to 5.27%. There are 2 sets of promoters. First one is the individual promoter, that is Kharshad Daruwala, who's looking to sell up to 1.58% stake in the company through this OFS. Out of this, about the base issue is about 1.07% stake, and the oversubscription portion, that is about 0.51%. The second set of promoter is Shapurji Palanji Group. They are looking to sell about 3.69% stake in the company through this OFS. The base issue here is about 2.5%. Oversubscription is 1.19%. This particular OFS is expected to be executed between December 20th to 21st, and importantly, the floor price has been set at about 270 rupees per share, which is about 4.76% discount to the last closing price, which was about 283 rupees and 50 paise. Importantly, this particular OFS will help the promoters of the company to also comply with the minimum public shareholding norms.
All right, Yash, many thanks for joining us. That's the latest there as far as the Sterling Wilson OFS is concerned. But here's a CNBC Awaaz exclusive. Dabur India promoters are looking to sell 800 crore rupees worth of shares via a block deal tomorrow. Sources say the promoters are looking to sell up to 4% discount to the market price. A CNBC-TV18 exclusive. The government is weighing its options on the free food grain scheme, which has been extended multiple times since it was first rolled out during the COVID lockdown in March 2020. Sources say the government is well placed with respect to grain stock, and hence the extension of the scheme is not a problem as far as supply is concerned. However, the Finance Ministry has been reiterating its discomfort with the scheme being continued. A call on the extension will have to be taken at the highest political level. Sapna joins us now with more. Sapna, edging closer to the deadline by when a decision will have to be taken. What are your sources telling you?
Well, what we are given to understand is the government is definitely weighing options at the moment in terms of whether the PMGKY needs to be extended further. This call, of course, will be taken at the highest level. As far as the food grain stock is concerned, there the government is very well positioned. According to some of the data that has just been very recently released as of Jan 1, 2023, the wheat and rice stock is likely to be above the buffer norm. And, for the rest of the season also, they are pretty well positioned. I mean, there the commentary is extremely clear. It's very strong in terms of the food grain availability. Absolutely no question of shortage. Whether it's additional allocation for BMGKY or even for the current NFSA, the normal routine outgoes that happen. So that's one side of the story. However, Finance Ministry also in the past has been raising certain red flags on the fiscal impact of the PMGKY extensions. We all know the numbers. The last quarter itself, the extension is going to cost the government additionally 44,000 crores. Another extension, at least for 3 months, will cost them again over 40,000 crores. If the extension is for a large part of the year, then of course the number is going to be much bigger. Plus, even if you look at the current economic situation, the COVID scare has receded. The growth numbers are coming back to normalcy. So under these circumstances, there does not appear to be too much of an economic rationale for extending the PMGKY. But as I just said, this is going to be a call to be taken at the highest level, and we'll just have to keep a watch as to how it really pans out.
Sapna, many thanks for joining us. We will head into a break, but up next, 2 pilot unions of Air India write to Tata Sons chief N. Chandrasekaran and ask him to intervene in what they call alleged victimization of pilots. That and more when we... 2 pilot unions of Air India have written to Tata Sons chief N. Chandrasekaran seeking his intervention to stop what they call the alleged victimization of pilots and unethical practices. They've reiterated complaints about shortage, overworking, leave denials and salary cuts. Madiha joins us now with more. Madiha, take us through the list of complaints.
Well, this is the second letter written by Air India pilots in the last 1 week alleging unhealthy and hostile working conditions. The 2 pilot unions, Indian Pilots Guild and Indian Commercial Pilots Association, have now approached Tata Sons chairman N. Chandrasekaran, who is also the chairman of Air India. In the letter, the pilots have very strongly written about their complaints. Some of their key concerns include hostile working conditions. The letter alleges pilots are demoralized due to unethical treatment meted out to them by the management. They claim pilots are being intimidated to operate flights beyond their flying hours, which they say disregards Air India's flight duty time limitation scheme. They further allege that pilots are not being paid for the period they undergo training to fly a different aircraft or are awaiting license renewals. They say there is no minimum payment guarantee and pilots are also denied their rightful overtime payment. They also accuse the management of denying leaves to pilots and deducting salaries for sick leaves. The letter ends by seeking the chairman's intervention. It says, and I quote, "We urge you to intervene and put a stop to this victimization. In this, you are our last and singular hope." End of quote.
Madiha, many thanks for joining us. Staying with aviation, Indigo has launched 21 additional flights in its winter schedule to cater to rising demand. In the holiday season, the low-cost carrier said these flights will increase direct connectivity from Hyderabad and Kolkata to Port Blair, Kochi and Goa. Speaking of aviation, the recent congestion at the Delhi International Airport came up in Parliament as well. On the steps taken to reduce congestion at the Delhi Airport, the Ministry of Civil Aviation has furnished a 13-point reply. The steps include deployment of additional traffic marshals, addition of display boards, deployment of more CISF officials and additional X-ray machines. But of course, this was not the only question the government had to field in Parliament today. The Finance Ministry has told Parliament the ministry is looking at a policy on crypto assets and the regulatory ecosystem for cryptocurrencies. However, also pointing out that any legislation in this regard will have to be formulated through international collaboration. The ministry has also given Parliament an update on its investigation into crypto exchanges. It says proceeds of crime amounting to 907 crore rupees have been seized under the PMLA. 3 persons have been arrested so far. In addition, on the FEMA regulations, assets amounting to 290 crores have been seized. 12 crypto exchanges have been probed for evasion of goods and services tax. The government has also called upon them to furnish the reading of how the global recession would impact India and expound on the depreciation in the rupee. In its response, the government said that India is likely to grow by 6.8% in FY23 and will continue to be among the fastest growing economies. It is also pointed out that while the rupee has depreciated 6.9%, it has performed better than most Asian currencies. Tensions escalated at the Karnataka-Maharashtra border near Belgavi. Hundreds of workers belonging to the Mahavikas Aghadi protested against Karnataka Chief Minister Bommai's decision to not allow the annual convention planned by the Maharashtra Ekikaran Samiti. The district police prevented entry of protesters via the state border. Ritu reports with the action from Ground Zero.
There is no end to the Karnataka-Maharashtra border dispute on the first day of the winter session in the Belgavi, which happens to be the center of the Karnataka, in fact, where there is a Suvarna Vidhana Saudha, which is also located on the model of the Vidhan Saudha of the Bangalore. On the one hand, while the winter session started in the Belgavi, on the other hand, almost more than 500 activists with the NCP, Congress and Shiv Sena flags reached Nipani, trying to barge into the Belgavi district majestic to, in fact, take out the protest in a very huge manner. But therein the security was being tied up because one, of course, there's a winter session that is on, and on the other hand, the Union Home Minister Amit Shah just last week that he had called out for a delegation from both the states and in fact requested the leaders from both the states to ensure that the peace is established in these border disputed border areas. But with all that as well on the ground, nothing seems to have changed.
Well, that is the latest on the tensions between Maharashtra and Karnataka at the border. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. The news continues here on CNBC-TV18.